Bitcoin down 10% on the day, and the real question is that it? Has Bitcoin stopped? Is Bitcoin no longer choosing rich? Well, I do want to go over some corrective targets on this particular move and also follow up on yesterday's setup. So let's actually start off with that, starting off with the chart view right on over here. And the 4-hour time frame did indeed close pretty much right at the high of that move. Now, yesterday I was getting a little bit greedy with it, saying, maybe, it goes on for a little bit more. Maybe this one is closing a little bit too soon. But at the end of the day, this is a really good example of trusting in statistics, trusting in the overall algo. And as we can see right here on the overview, that one continues to move up and forwards to the right, as that one does get closed as a profitable trade, despite having, basically a coin flip probability to be a winning trade. But as you can see, even with that, in my opinion, slightly lower win rate, with decent risk management, the curve can still be good over time. So this one gets closed as a win, and we continue onwards and forwards now as Bitcoin does. I mean, this is not going to always happen after a trade like that gets closed. Obviously, we saw 1, 2, maybe even 3, in the past couple weeks here. That continued onwards and forwards from there. But ultimately, this is this is a good example of trusting the mathematics and just using statistics to work for you. Because at the end of the day, when it tells you to exit, it's probably a good time to be taking profits. So Bitcoin playing about 10% down from that high yesterday. And we have been going over on the higher term timeframes that, hey, this rally is starting to get pretty damn hot here. Bitcoin obviously did fail the momentum pivots from yesterday and is starting to play out divergence, what we'll get into. But first things first, I want to go over the Friday statistics. Now, I am just measuring the time period from January of 2023 to current time, and we can actually see that Friday has now overtaken Tuesday as the most likely day to close positively. Now, I think that today would be kind of a stretch for this one to close positively, but does it play out a bounce after nearly a 10% move to the downside? I don't think you'd be asking for too much, to be fair. To just read off the statistics right here, we can see that on the days that it has closed positively, has returned an average of just over 2%, again, for those positive closures, and for the negative side, losing about 1.5%. I think it's going to definitely overshoot both sides, or sorry, at least the bearish side of that on today. Now, if something crazy does happen, I don't think this is going to happen, but we can just go over it for example's sake. 2% from the open would put Bitcoin back at around 72,800. So, I mean, if you see that player, that would be kind of crazy. To the downside, 1.5% to the downside would put Bitcoin actually back above 70,000 bucks, closer to 70,200 or so. So do we get a kind of a big bounce into that and bring it closer to that average for the negative closures on Friday? I think that's maybe a little more reasonable. Maybe not back above 70, but a little bit more from where it is right now at 67,700. Now, going forwards from here, I do want to say that this current move to the downside probably does have more to go overall, because as we've been going over as potential for a daily RSI bearish divergence, it has now been confirmed, obviously. And in this case, the easy target, the very high probability target, is that cyan moving average right there, which has already been hit. The next corrective target on this would be the yellow moving average, as that one does start to climb closer and closer towards current price action. Currently, it is coming in just around 63,200, and it will be rising with each and every passing day. So the longer that Bitcoin takes to essentially meet that, the more and more that's going to crawl up and likely imply that the next corrective target to the downside would not be as far as 63,000 bucks, but for right now, that is certainly a possibility. Probably not today, if I had to guess, but perhaps coming into next week, assuming that Bitcoin doesn't reclaim what area. So I want to add, as always, an invalidation to the other side. And what would Bitcoin need to do in order for, I guess, upside continuation to still remain the more likely thing to be happening? I think that's probably unlikely, but basically, I need to see Bitcoin back above today's high, which is 72,400. If you see that, okay, fair enough. That was the most painless and quick dump that we could possibly see in the last couple of weeks, because obviously on the 5th of March, things were actually even more crazy right there, just for perspective. But that would do it for me. Until then, Bitcoin playing out a bit of sideways and downside, probably more likely. Again, we are starting to get closer and closer into the halving date now. And theoretically, a correction either slightly before or slightly after that date does make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, which maybe we'll go over in another video. But for right now, yeah, after Bitcoin's been basically vertical for the past few months, playing out a bit of correction doesn't really seem all that crazy. Anyways, going forwards from here, I do want to go over the stochastic momentum pivot for today as well. This would also, if met, would be a good indication that Bitcoin correction over and upside again, I guess. Again, I do think that that's a lot less likely, but it would be 72,800. So actually pretty damn close to the number that I just gave out. In fact, I'd still be going with 72,400. If Bitcoin were to close back above there today, okay, just fucking send it to 80,000 bucks, I guess, at that point. Fair enough. But anyways, going to the HPDR bands now. We can see that the 2-day time frame is starting to. We probably actually have some bearish divergence in that one as well, but is starting to see that volatility. Actually, sorry, not volatility, but not that one, but volatility right here start to contract, which again does imply that we're going to probably see somewhere around the median. And where is the median right now on the index? It is 63,400, not closing today, but closing tomorrow night. So again, that will rise up with each and every passing closure. But for right now, that would be where that number is. So kind of a general area of interest on this downside move, maybe over the next week or so. Looking at the daily time frame, we've actually already seen, I believe, the bottom side of the 38.2 level hit, and currently the median is at 68,900, so just about 69,000 bucks. Great number right there. Just Bitcoin attempt for a bounce above there by end of day. Yeah, I do think so. And likely the next sort of, if we are going to see a continuation on this move, which as long as the daily stochastic oscillator is positioned to the downside, I would say is more likely, the next sort of objective thing to be looking for would be a closure below the 38.2 level right here. And that would be at 66,800, basically the low of the day. In fact, this one's basically gotten the low of the day nearly perfectly. And at that point, probably have to be looking, somewhere around 64, maybe a little bit lower than that. So a lot of those numbers starting to come into collision with each other. But at the end of the day, does this put in another higher low and Bitcoin continues upwards and onwards, over the next couple months? Most likely, yes. Why do I say that? Well, one, trend, but two, just like this was building up bearish divergence over here, now it's going to be building up hidden bullish divergence over here, as the daily RSI is already making significantly lower lows than what we saw even in February 21st, where Bitcoin was trading all the way down at 50,000 bucks even. So, that really, in my opinion, this is probably going to be likely a buy the dip scenario. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. Just going to have statistics and probabilities here, but I would assume that would be my first interpretation of this. So yeah. Back on over here, 5-day time frame is closing tonight as well. Is going to be closing most likely as a rejection of the 78.6 level. Again, assuming that Bitcoin does not pop back above 72,000 bucks today by closure. So yesterday it was like, okay, maybe we see continuation if we see a closure above that region. Obviously not. It was a rejection. And in this case, we're going to see the 5-day time frame likely go into volatility contraction as well. In fact, we are starting to see this one turn down here. So again, at least the 50% level on the top side, which is actually pretty low right now, 60,500, but will change on tomorrow's open. So we'll update on that one. Will also be an area of interest. And I imagine it's probably going to crawl up to probably 63 or 64,000 bucks. Crazy how that thing works, but we'll find out tomorrow if that does indeed happen. So yeah. It all kind of hinges upon, again, assuming that today does close below 70,000, or sorry, not 72,000 is what I mean to say. Until then, all kind of waiting around for that, and it's probably a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. I want to make this one nice and short and sweet. I'm still saving, probably for tomorrow, I want to time this next likely higher low in this next video, or at least kind of prepare it maybe like 1 week before, 2 weeks before, something like that, because I do think that there's really compelling evidence, for an opportunity in Bitcoin on this current move to the downside. So I'll try to time it for tomorrow, maybe Sunday. We'll see what makes most sense. as far as that goes. And other than that, I want to still let you know that we still got our sale going on for the 6-year anniversary of this place. Got a little bit of shilling action over here, and you can get the Krown Quant automation for 35% off with the coupon code Happy 6-year in all capitals like this. It goes for any one of the products or services that we have, but for this particular service, which allows you to, again, automate backtesting and then automate trade execution, amongst other things, as well as, trade templates and all that good stuff. I'll just leave that up right there. Why not? You can get that for the lowest, the biggest discount that we'll actually ever have ever on. Again, I want you to be like really fucking in your face with this, just because, one, I know that there's going to be some people like at the very end who are like, hey, what? I didn't know. It's like, fair enough. Try to be as loud as possible with it, just to reduce confusion. And then also, like, it's my favorite tool as far as backtesting goes. Changed everything that I do with trading. So as far as indicators go, I mean, that's a different story. But this, in my opinion, as far as systematic trading, I do think it's a great tool. Obviously, I mean, I'm fucking biased. I use it and I sell it as well. So I benefit it from. But we'll end things right there. As always, I want to wish you the best of best. It's been a nice little week. Price action has been fun to both sides, and looks like we're finally getting a little bit of a washout here. So we'll come back at it tomorrow, see where the new numbers start to come in around. But again, for today, just basically as long as Bitcoin's below $72,000, let's say, on a closing basis, downside more likely. Bounces are probably just that, bounces. And overall, the higher term time frame rally still very likely does continue on. This is probably going to lead into very likely a higher low, as we'll go over on probably the next video. So I'll leave things right there. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and choose rich.